walk like an Egyptian. Listen, okay, so hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you watched the video that I posted literally probably 2 hours before this, then you probably understand why the videos are late. And if you did not watch that video, then I would recommend watching that video just because it might be helpful to somebody somewhere. You know what I mean? I don't know who, but maybe somewhere somebody is being helped by it. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not really sure, but what I do know is that we are on day 25 of the Bible through a year. Are we a day behind? I think we're a day behind, and I'm not 125% sure why. It's definitely not my fault. If it's anybody's fault, it's not mine. So let's just, you know what I mean, take that for what it is. Sorry, it's not my fault. I don't know whose fault it is, but it's not mine. So with that being said, if you know whose fault it is, please let me know. Please dial me up. My phone number is 1-800. Please do not call me because that's weird. Hi, how are you doing? How are you doing? Okay, cool. All right, great. Also, yesterday, if you missed it, Jacob died. Joseph's dad, he passed away, and it was really sad actually. He blessed all his sons. He blessed the wrong sons, and then he passed away. I don't know if it was technically the wrong sons. It wasn't like technically the wrong sons. Like he wanted to bless that son, but like Joseph thought it was the wrong sons. It was complicated. If you want to go back and watch yesterday's, you know what I mean, it's up there. You can listen to the story yourself and you tell me, because I'm not sure if he blessed the wrong. I'm still not sure if the right son got blessed. I have no idea. You know what I mean? I know it sounded confusing. I do know that. Also, in Matthew, Jesus fed more people with bread, which I didn't even know there was 2 stories about bread. I don't even remember that. I literally remember there only being 1 story where Jesus fed like 5,000 people with bread. But there was another story of 4, just that we read yesterday, and it was back to back, where he fed another 4,000 people with like 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and all their wives and kids and everybody. So, you know what I mean? I guess, you know, I'm sorry, 7 loaves and a few small fish. Still not enough for 4,000 people. So also the Pharisees again asked Jesus, people keep asking Jesus for a sign, and I just need them to calm down. The Pharisees also asked Jesus for a sign, and Jesus was like, are you good? Like, stop asking me for signs, bro. Like, I don't know what you want or what you think you want from me, but I'm not giving, like, stop. Like, I'm the son of God, and that's just the end of the conversation. So chill out, because I'm not doing it. And we also read another Psalm and another Proverbs. So that's what happened yesterday. And today we are on Genesis chapter 50 verse 1 through Exodus chapter 2 verse 10. Ooh, are we out of Genesis? Oh my goodness, we're starting a new book today. I didn't even know that. I'm probably the most unprepared human being. And then we're going, yeah, we're still in Mathew and Psalm and Proverbs. But that's where we're at today in Genesis. So that's exciting. So we're finishing Genesis and we're starting Exodus. I think it'll be interesting to see, like, when we get to Numbers, how they do Numbers, like if they go through every single thing, because if you've ever read Numbers, it's a lot of numbers is what it is. And so I think it'll be interesting to see if they put all that in here, and also how they do it. But regardless, let's see what's going on with Joseph and his familia. But before that, let's have a dance party while you find the verse. You know what I mean? Okay. Genesis chapter 50 verse 1 through Exodus chapter 2 verse 10. Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph told the physicians who served him to embalm his father's body. So Jacob was embalmed, and the Egyptians mourned his death for 70 days. When the period of mourning was over, Joseph approached Pharaoh's advisors and said, "Please do me this favor and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf. Tell him that my father made me swear an oath. He said to me, 'Listen, I am about to die.' He said to me, 'Take my body back to the land of Canaan and bury me in the tomb I prepared for myself. So please allow me to go and bury my father father. After his burial, I will return without delay." Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request. "Go and bury your father, as he made you promise," he said. So Joseph went up to bury his father. He was accompanied by all of Pharaoh's officials, all the senior members of Pharaoh's household, and all the senior officers of Egypt. Joseph also took his entire household and his brothers and their households, but they left their little children and flocks and herds in the land of Goshen. A great number of chariots and charioteers accompanied Joseph. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Atad near the Jordan River, they held a great and solemn memorial service with a 7-day period of mourning for Joseph's father. The local residents, the Canaanites, watched the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad. Then they renamed that place, which is near the Jordan, Abel Mizraim, for they said, "This is a place of deep mourning for these Egyptians." So Jacob's sons did as he commanded them. They carried his body to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Mashpah near Mamre. This is the cave that Abraham had bought as a permanent burial site from Ephron the Hittite. After burying Jacob, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who accompanied him to his father's burial. But now that their father was dead, Joseph's brothers became fearful. "Now Joseph will show his anger and pay us back for all the wrong we did to him," they said. And if you don't know what they're talking about, the brothers tried to kill Joseph. They wanted to kill him, and then the other brother was like, "Hold up, homie, like, you don't have to kill him, just like put him in this well." And they were like, "Okay." And then they were like, he left, and they were like, "Well, we're still gonna kill him anyways." And they wound up selling Joseph, and that's how Joseph became like best friends with the Pharaoh, whatever, because the guy that Joseph sold him to, his wife tried to rape Joseph, or said Joseph raped her. He got thrown into a cave or a jail, and then he read dreams, and then the Pharaoh had a weird dream, so they brought Joseph out of jail to read the Pharaoh's dreams, and he became the Pharaoh's right-hand man because he realized that he was anointed by God. And that's what they're referencing when they're saying, "I hope that he doesn't try to get revenge on us now that our father's dead," because they did try to kill him technically, and they definitely did sell him to what could, some might say, be the first human traffickers. So, you know what I mean? There's that. So they sent this message to Joseph. Let's get back into it. So they sent this message to Joseph. "Before your father died, he instructed us to say to you, 'Please forgive your brothers for the great things they did to you, for their sin in treating you so cruelly. So we, the servants of God of your father, beg you to forgive our sin.' When Joseph received the message, he broke down and wept. Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. 'Look, we are your slaves,' they said. But Joseph replied, 'Don't be afraid of me. Am I God that I can punish you? You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. No, don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your children.' So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them. So Joseph and his brothers and their families continued to live in Egypt. Joseph lived to the age of 110. He lived to see 3 generations of descendants of his son Ephraim, and he lived to see the birth of the children of Manasseh, son Machir, whom he claimed as his own. 'Soon I will die,' Joseph told his brothers, 'but God will surely come to help you and lead you out of this land of Egypt. He will bring you to the back of the land he solemnly promised to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob.' Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath, and he said, 'When God comes to help you and lead you back, you must take my bones with you.' So Joseph died at the age of 110. The Egyptians embalmed him, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt. These are the names of the sons of Israel, that is, Jacob, who moved to Egypt with their father Egypt with his family: Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. In all, Jacob had 70 descendants in Egypt, including Joseph, who was already there. In time, Joseph and all his brothers died, ending that entire generation." Oh my goodness. But their descendants, the Israelites, had many children and grandchildren. In fact, they multiplied so greatly that they became extremely powerful and filled the land. Eventually, a new king came to power in Egypt who knew nothing about Joseph or what he had done. He said to his people, "Look, the people of Israel now outnumber us and are stronger than we are. We must make a plan to keep them from growing even more. If we don't, and if war breaks out, they will join our enemies and fight against us. Then they will escape this country." So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves. They appointed brutal slave drivers. I know where this is going. Okay. So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves. They appointed brutal slave drivers over them, hoping to wear them down with crushing labor. They forced them to build the cities of Pithom and Ramses as supply centers for the king. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more the Israelites multiplied and spread, and the more alarmed the Egyptians became. So the Egyptians worked the people of Israel without mercy. They made their lives bitter, forcing them to mix mortar and make bricks and do all the work in the fields. They were ruthless in all their demands. Then Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, gave his order to the Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah. "When you help the Hebrew women as they give birth, watch as they deliver. If the baby is a boy, kill him. If it is a girl, let her live. But because the midwives feared God, they refused to obey the king's orders. They allowed the boys to live too. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives. "Why have you done this?" he demanded. "Why have you allowed the boys to live?" "The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women," the midwives replied. "They are more vigorous and have their babies so quickly that we cannot get there in time." So God was good to the midwives, and the Israelites continued to multiply, growing more and more powerful. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: "Throw every newborn Hebrew into the Nile River, but you may let the girls live." About this time, a man and woman from the tribe of Levi got married. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She said that he was a special baby and kept him hidden for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a basket made of papyrus reeds and waterproofed it with tar and pitch. She put the baby in the basket and laid it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile River. Okay, I do know this story. The baby's sister then stood at a distance, watching to see what would happen to him. Soon Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the river, and her attendants walked along the riverbank. When the princess saw the basket among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it for her. When the princess opened it, she saw the baby. The little boy was crying, and she felt sorry for him. "This must be the one of the Hebrew children," she said. Then the baby's sisters approached the princesses. "Should I go and find one of the Hebrews' women to nurse the baby for you?" she asked. "Yes, do," the princess replied. So the girl went and called the baby's mother. "Take this baby and nurse him for me," the princess told the baby's mother. "I will pay for your help." So the woman took her baby home and nursed him. Later, when the boy was older, his mother brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her own son. The princess named him Moses, for as she explained, "I lifted him out of the water." Aww, I didn't know that's how Moses was born. Like, I know who Moses is, right? But I know the story of the like the lady who they put the baby in the river, because I remember seeing it, I think on VeggieTales or something, where like the baby, like he was just like floating down the river and the lady finds him. But I didn't know that was Moses. Did y'all know that was Moses? I didn't know that. I'm not gonna spoil the story, but guess what Moses is about to do? Leave it in the comments below. No, but for real, I love that story. I didn't realize that. That's cool. Now we're on Matthew chapter 16, verse 13 through 17, verse 9. And we're gonna have the hope of a nation. Okay, when Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do you say that the Son of Man is?" "Well," they replied, "some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, and others say Jeremiah or one of the other prophets." Then he asked them, "But who do you say I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." Jesus replied, "You are blessed, Simon, son of John, because my Father in heaven has revealed this to you. You did not learn this from any human being. Now I say to you that you are Peter, which means rock, and upon this rock I will build my church, and all the powers of hell will not conquer it. And I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you forbid on earth will be forbidden in heaven, and whatever you permit on earth will be permitted in heaven." Then he sternly warned the disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah. From then on, Jesus began to tell his disciples plainly that it was necessary for him to go to Jerusalem, and that he would suffer many terrible things at the hands of the elders, the leading priests, and the teachers of religious law. He would be killed, but on the third day he would be raised from the dead. But Peter took him aside and began to reprimand him for saying such things. "Heaven forbid, Lord," he said. Jeez. It's not, imagine like saying that to like Jesus, like, cause you know, like people feel like, "Oh my Lord." But like, imagine you said that and then like you were actually talking to Jesus. Like, that's wild. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, T. This will never happen to you. But wait. But Peter took him aside and began to reprimand him for saying such things. "Heaven forbid, Lord," he said. "This will never happen to you." Jesus turned to Peter and said, "Get away from me, Satan. You are a dangerous trap to me. You are seeing things merely from a human point of view, not from God's." Then Jesus said to his disciples, "If any of you want to be my follower, you must give up your own ways, take up your cross, and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? Is nothing worth more than your soul? For the Son of Man will come with his angels and will judge all people according to their deeds. And I tell you the truth, some standing here right now will not die before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." 6 days later, Jesus took Peter and the two brothers, James and John, and led them up a high mountain to be alone. As the men watched, Jesus' appearance had transformed so that his face shone like the sun and his clothes became as white as light. Suddenly, Moses and Elijah appeared and began talking with Jesus. Peter exclaimed, "Lord, it's wonderful for us to be here. If you want, I'll make 3 shelters as memorials, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But even as he spoke, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my dearly loved son, who brings me great joy. Listen to him." The disciples were terrified and fell face down on the ground. Then Jesus came over and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." And when he looked up, Moses and Elijah were gone, and they saw only Jesus. As they went back down the mountain, Jesus commanded them, "Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." I literally glossed over the point where Moses and Elijah appeared. That would be so trippy. And if you don't know who Elijah is, because we know we just read about the birth of Moses, and we'll get more into the story of Moses, and obviously we'll get more into the story of Elijah probably at some point. But if you don't know who Elijah is, like, he was like a prophet, I'm pretty sure, and he's the only other person who like healed people, like, to where he brought, I know he brought a kid back to life. Like, there was like a little girl and she was dead in the bed, and he brought her back to life. I do remember reading that story. So he was like a pretty like good prophet, you know what I mean? He was like really out here, like he was out here. With that being said, we're now on Psalm 21 verse 1 through 13 and Proverbs 5 verse 1 through 6, and we're gonna have a dance party until you find somebody send out to 1234 Internet Street. Listen, we're gonna have a dance party by the verse, okay? And Psalm chapter 21. How the king rejoices in your strength, O Lord. He shouts with joy because you gave him victory. For you have given him his heart's desire. You have withheld nothing he requested. You welcomed him back with success and prosperity. You placed a crown of finest gold on his head. He asked you to preserve his life, and you granted his request. The days of his life stretch on forever. Your victory brings him great honor, and you have clothed him with splendor and majesty. You have endowed him with eternal blessings and given him the joy of your presence. For the king trusts in the Lord. The unfailing love of the Most High will keep him from stumbling. You will capture all your enemies. Your strong right hand will seize all who hate you. You will throw them in a flaming furnace when you appear. The Lord will consume them in his anger. Fire will devour them. You will wipe their children from the face of the earth. They will never have descendants. Although they plot against you, their evil schemes will never succeed. For they will turn and run when they see your arrows aimed at them. Rise up, O Lord, in all your power. With music and singing we celebrate your mighty acts. And now we're on Proverbs. My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Listen carefully to my wise counsel. Then you will show discernment, and your lips will express what you've learned. For the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end she is bitter as poison, as dangerous as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave, for she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down like a crooked trail and doesn't realize it. I'm just thankful that we have Proverbs, and we have Psalms, and we have Psalms that can remind us that God's gonna, you know what I mean, take care of us, and he's gonna like help us and like give us the victory, and like, you know what I mean. And then we have Proverbs to tell us like what to do and like what not to do and like what to look out for, because there's a lot of crazy things going on out in these streets, and you know, sometimes you just need somebody to tell you like, hey, like that immoral woman over there, like she's not good for you, bro. You know, in case you didn't know that, she's not the one, and she's leading you down the path of destruction. So, like, chill out, you know? No, but I really am thankful for the Psalms and the Proverbs. Tomorrow we will be on January 26th, and it will be Exodus chapter 2, 11 through 3:22. And we get to learn more about Moses, I'm assuming, and I'm excited. Because I didn't realize that the little kid that like got thrown down the Nile was Moses, so I didn't even know. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. Ow. And with that being said, let me ask y'all a quick question. I'm gonna end this video, but I was thinking about shaving the side of my head. Like, what do you think? Is that like a vibe? Like, if I just like shave like this part? Maybe not. That might be a lot. Never mind. I'm completely second guess. I don't even answer that. I don't even want to know. I'm gonna shut up. All right. I love you. Jesus loves you. Bye.